それでは早速プログラムを始め
Now we would like to begin today's program.
5G 6G スペシャルデイ2
5G, 6G, Special Day 2, 5G advancements, 6G latest developments and outlook, beyond 5G, 6G global trend. That is the title of this session, and we will be having 6 speakers. First, I would like to invite Mr. Hideo Fuseda, Director General of the International Strategy Bureau, the MIC, to deliver a presentation titled Latest Trends in Beyond 5G. Mr. Fuseda, the floor is yours. May I begin? Good morning, all. Thank you for having me here today. I am the Director General of Global Strategy Bureau. My name is Fuseda. Today, I would like to introduce our Beyond 5G promotion strategy. About 10 years ago, I last gave a speech at CTEC in around 2015. Back then, I was a section manager in charge of mobile communication licensing, and we were discussing how we were transitioning to 5G, and it's been 10 years. And now, today, we are talking about beyond 5G. So I am deeply feeling that it is an honor for me to come back here to talk about beyond 5G. There was an international forum where we invited various stakeholders promoting 5G around the world. International relationship that was formed back then still persists today. And the leaders who are promoting beyond 5G and 6G are gathering here today for discussion, and I'm extremely happy about this event. Today, I would like to present from the viewpoint of the government, the MIC, in promoting beyond 5G. This is the overview of our technology policy in the field of ICT. This is a busy slide, but largely on the left-hand side, we have the technological priority areas. There are 4 of them. First is beyond 5G. We have this cluster. Next generation ICT infrastructure. R&D of such infrastructure is to be promoted. All photonics network, APN, photonics electronics convergence. I believe you are familiar with this technology, that it is closely related to semiconductors. Thus, we are working with the Messe to promote this R&D. We also have NTN, non-terrestrial network, HAPS, satellite. These are included in this category. We are thinking of the all-Earth network, so to speak. And in this Beyond 5G cluster, we are promoting R&D and overseas expansion and promotion. Regarding APN, we are conducting demonstrations to introduce the actual APM for companies from overseas. In Germany, in the US, West Coast, we are currently preparing for such demonstration. We are hoping that hyperscalers building data centers will take the time to consider using APN in their data centers. Such promotion is in place. And also related to APN, in terms of introduction to overseas, we are also working on penetration and promotion of submarine cables. In the past, communication carriers were installing submarine cables But nowadays, hyperscalers and many other operators are having submarine cables. And as you are aware, they are supporting our lives and economies. So we need to ensure good management of those submarine cables. At the same time, we need to introduce the latest technology like multi-core so that we can connect with overseas. We are also working on demonstration for expansion into overseas markets. The second cluster is AI, moving on to the right side. When we say AI, it can include many things, but in the MIC, we handle communications. So this AI is related to communications in Japan. In the past, this AI was primarily used for searching. You ask a question and then it will give you an answer. But nowadays we have the generative AI. So the MIC and NICT, overseen by MIC, are working on developing an environment for such generative AI. NICT has been collecting information from websites for the past 20 years. It stores information that is no longer available on the internet, and also it has information related to the National Diet Library or the National Printing Bureau, which can be very precious and old. We have government documents or even tales from the past. LLM developed by Japanese universities and LLM developed by Japanese companies are also promoted. And in our AI-related activities, in addition to generative AI, we also have the brain-inspired next-generation AI. We have a team to study the mechanism of a brain that is located in Osaka NICT Center. They are collaborating with Osaka University. When you look at things, how your brain analyzes various information that you capture, that is their focus in understanding the principles of information communication. This study is also used for measuring effects of advertisements and promotions so that you can carry out more targeted advertisement. And the bottom left is space. We are working on the communication aspect of space. In Japan, the METI, the MEXT, the MIC, the Cabinet Office are collaborating to establish a fund for research and development. Through this fund, we are supporting the development of technologies for communication in space. Satellite communication is useful in disasters and when rescuing someone who got lost in the mountains. This is an extremely important system that needs to be developed and maintained by the government. I will come back to this details later, but we are maintaining such a critical infrastructure on our own. The final technological cluster is quantum communication. Quantum is something we need to promote with one team across the government. Quantum computer, quantum sensors, there are many devices, but in the MIC, we are striving to realize quantum cryptography. As you're aware, the current encryption will be decoded in around 2030 when we will be having quantum computers. So what we're trying to do is to use a key for decoding that cannot be stolen. And this research is currently done in Tokyo, but we are working to expand the area. So we have been focusing on R&D, but from around next year, we will be starting to work on actual use cases. In the finance industry, the defense industry, they are showing much interest in this quantum cryptography. So in areas including Tokyo, we are planning to actually use this. Currently, this device is too expensive. We need to reduce the price in order for better penetration. So I apologize for speaking too long, but those are the technological priority areas. And on the right-hand side, we have the efforts to promote these technologies. But the key here is the one in the middle, support for ICT startups. This is not just happening in the MIC, but in the entire government. We have a 5-year startup plan. In various areas, we are trying to support startup companies. The MIC has allocated a certain amount of budget. We're still in when we're still in phase 1, we will only be providing small funding, but in phase 2, the support will become larger. Every year, we choose dozens of companies to support. This is a government-wide effort. Last month, in the Prime Minister's residence, they held an award ceremony for startups. There was the Minister of the METI Award or the Minister of MIC Award. We awarded these startups to demonstrate that we are supporting them across Japan, across the government. Perhaps we have many participants from the academia today, but if there are startups that are born from your universities, please reach out to us. There is a community that they can belong to. So these are the ICT strategies that we are currently promoting. Regarding the Beyond 5G promotion strategy, the MIC has developed the first strategy back in 2020. And as we promote, we have established the fund. And the size of the fund became larger from 2022, and it became a permanently operated fund. And last year, this has been updated to Beyond 5G Promotion Strategy 2.0. And this is showing the purpose of the fund. The MIC and the NICT are included in the scheme. So the funding first goes from MIC to NICT and then to companies and universities. As of today, we have 15 projects selected, and the fund totals 167 billion yen. We also have an international activity of Beyond 5G and 6G. 2 years ago, in Takasaki, Gunma Prefecture, there was a G7 Digital and Technology Ministers meeting where a ministerial declaration was issued. These are the targeted areas of Beyond 5G. Through the Fund of Research and Development, we are making concentrated investments in these areas. First is APN. We're focusing on the R&D of APN, and second is NTN. This includes HAPS. As you can see here, we are aiming to commercialize HAPS in 2026. We are also developing satellite communications technology. The final one is Radio Access Network, RAN. This will also be promoted. This includes development of millimeter waves and Open RAN, vRAN, AI RAN. The future state of RAN are also going to be promoted. I'm going to skip this slide. This is too detailed. So I mentioned that there are 15 projects earlier, and that is on the left-hand side. And we also have international collaboration with the EU, Germany, the US, and Singapore. In the Beyond 5G R&D Fund, I mentioned that we are investing into APN. In the middle, we have the APN, which is in the rainbow color. There is interconnectivity, network connectors. We are supporting R&D in every part of this diagram. This image is often used within the ministry and also in the government settings. This is depicting a society centered around APN. So we have the cities, manufacturing sector, environment. There are various sectors. And as edge, AI is used in each sector. And we will become a society where we can fully utilize such AI. And there is also interconnectivity between AIs. And we have hyper data centers and local data centers. We also connect with overseas. So using this network infrastructure, we have robots, surveillance of public infrastructure, satellites, HAPs, and something closer to the lives of residents. APN needs to be promoted for this purpose. And this is about the photoelectric fusion, which I will skip, and I'd like to talk a little about satellites. As I said earlier, as shown on the left pictures, satellites are used for lifeline during disasters, and it can be used for emergency communication in rescuing someone in mountainous areas. Also, outside of the area, autonomous driving can be supported. This picture is showing a agricultural machinery used in farms. But even if it is outside the area, if connected to satellites, you can be benefited from its communication. Satellite communication is indispensable for promoting our lives and economy and the society. When we look at commercial satellites that are currently up in the air, many of them are from other countries. And we wouldn't want to increase the dependency too much, but we are thinking about how we can promote this as Japan. Recently, we've had a serious disaster from earthquake in Noto. SpaceX was there to help us with information communication. We are determined that we need to promote this as Japan so that we can have our own satellite communication. And this is the Space Strategy Fund project. This is led by the 4 ministries in the Cabinet Office. We have 3 focus areas: transportation, satellites, and space exploration. These are the 3 focus targets. The Cabinet Office, the METI, the MEXT, and the MIC are collaborating to fund JAXA for research and development activities. So space has always been a place for R&D and public infrastructure and satellites, but there is industrialization of space going on. And what we are aiming to do is to grow the space industry. In 2030, we are expecting that the market will grow from 4 to 8 trillion yen. I have long been engaged in this promotion of the space industry, and I recently feel that there are more startups. 350 billion yen used per year in the past. That is no longer the case. Private companies are launching satellites and asking which frequency they can use or which window they will be able to use. We feel the enthusiasm among the private companies to better utilize the space. And lunar development is not included in the slide today, but there are private companies working on such projects, and some companies are even aiming to go to Mars. So we are intending to support those companies. I'm running out of time, so I'm skipping some slides. This is a quantum communication technology. R&D and standardization are promoted. QKD, we have Toshiba and NEC's QKD currently, and they're still in the R&D phase, so it can be quite expensive. As I said earlier, we would like to create use cases so that we can make this more affordable and convenient for wider penetration. So I have covered a number of topics, but we would like to create innovation to foster sustainable economic growth. We will be developing digital infrastructure and realizing digital transformation for that purpose. Thank you very much for your attention today. As I said earlier, I came here 10 years ago, and that's when our 5G discussion started. I still remember what we talked about on that day, and I feel very honored to have been able to speak about beyond 5G today. Thank you very much. Mr. Fuseda, thank you very much.
どうぞご講談くださいませ。続きまして、
Thank you very much. Next, we are to hear from Director General Rajesh.
60 India Perspective についてご講演いただきます。Mr. Rajesh, stage is yours.
Thank you. A very good morning and namaste from India. Thank you for inviting me to this Beyond 5G and 6G event. It's honor for me to represent India. I belong to Bharat 6G Alliance. It's an industry-led alliance, research alliance, which has brought together startups, academia, hyperscaler, telecom service providers together for innovation and technology development. So we are just 2 years old baby. Let me start giving certain backgrounds about our 5G initiatives. So I would like to cover what is the current state of telecommunications in India. We have certain lessons learned from our 5G deployments. And then what is this Bharat? Bharat is basically, we call it in Hindi, or it's the name Bharat. in English we call India. So Bharat and India, you can just interchange them. What are the various government initiatives for promoting research and development? And its entire government, it means efforts by different wings of the government, because even if you just see this technologies, now they are not part of anyone. So it can be from the Department of Science, it can be from the Ministry of Electronics and IT, and naturally Department of Telecommunications. And what is our strategies? So I'll be covering this as a part of a Bharat 6G alliance, from where I belong to. India, we have presently about 1.2 billion subscription with close to 1 billion broadband. However, about 96% are still using wireless or mobile. So I'll say that India is a mobile first country, and we have leveraged our this soft infrastructure for providing services, government services, a number of e-government services to the masses. The data usage is increasing each day, and it's more than 27.5 GB per subscriber per month, and growing at a rate of more than 19.5 CAGR over 5 years. And we have one interesting that whatever the capacity is being created, it's just being exhausted. It means demand is growing. Presently, we have the major four operators. One is the state PSU, we call it Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited, BSNL. Other than then, we have Reliance Jio, Airtel, and Vodafone Idea. Presently, they are allocated 40 in the, one can say, 4G and below, and for 5G about 100, so 100 plus 40 megahertz spectrum. And it is felt that for 5G advanced, they may require 100 megahertz. And for 6G, there has to be new spectrum, 300 plus, in again 7 to 15, but I will say that even 6 gigahertz also we have a lot of spectrum which can be used for 5G advanced as well as 6G. In case of 5G, India reformed a lot in spectrum, and we made available the highest spectrum for 5G services, be it the lower band, even 600 and 700 megahertz, 3.5 and 24.5. And those were resulted along with the other actions taken by the government, like liberal spectrum for the trials, testing and demonstration, that we were able to roll out this 5G across country very fast. And more important have been the lessons that we introduced a new vendor, and that's a consortium of C-Dot, TCS and Tejas. Now they have developed their 4G as well as 5G, which has been rolled out in more than 100K towers across country and being upgraded for 5G. So this was I thought that I should tell the background. Now it comes to development part, that what are the various lessons learned from 5G. And I'm sure that since here we have the audience from TSP's Standard Development Organization, so they are aware of that what were the various lessons in case of 5G, that there are so many options. So thought process is that especially once we go for 6G, we should avoid that and see that how can we take care those lessons, like there were a number of options available and even devices available were not compatible. So I think the less number of devices. Slow adoption of key features and core network capabilities. Even sustainability was the afterthought. And where operators who are going to invest in the infra, there was a slow return on investment. So I mean there were no killer applications, and that's not only for India but for I think around the world. There were whatever was thought in case of millimeter wave, I think we could not leverage the true potential. And definitely fixed wireless access, one can say maybe one of the monetization activity. So how can we leverage FWA and other applications? So the 6G should be, it should provide ubiquitous coverage, and I'm sure that we'll fully exploit FWA and NTN using satellite and HAPS. A new services, because 6G won't be just higher connectivity, but how can we develop a platform which will give the revenue to the service provider? So how can we utilize the integrated sensing communications to generating the new revenues and AI-based services? Spectrum efficiency will play a role. So even the latest 3GPP last event in Bangalore, there was a lot of thought process that whether this is just 5G plus or entirely new 6G. So then that's a subject to be discussed by standard organizations. So I still feel that a lot we have to do. Keeping our learnings from 5G, because we launched in 2018 one report called Making India 5G Ready, and that was the basis for reforms in spectrum, in development of use cases. So government, they established 100 use cases at premier academic institutions on 5G. And they funded a consortium-based 5G test beds at 8 premier academic institutions led by IIT Madras, CIVIT, with the Indian Institute of Science, IITs at Delhi, Hyderabad, Mumbai, Kanpur. This Bharat 6G vision was launched by Honorable Prime Minister in 2023. And thought process was that how can we work together in the design, development and deployment of 6G along with the world. So collaborations is the main criteria. It's based on three, one can say principle: affordable, sustainable and ubiquitous coverage, and position India as a global leader in 6G. So once we say it means India would like that its requirements are factored in IMT 2030, and they are already part of that. In addition, we should be able to participate in 3GPP and ITU and see that we have our innovations, IPRs, patents, part of 6G standards. There are a number of government initiatives. So the government has revisited its research and development policies. How can they promote innovations and technology development? So earlier thought process was that lot of research were being done at the academic institutions. So it was led by academia, but the startups were or industry were not, they were not working together. So efforts were made that how can we bring startups and industry from the very beginning when government is sanctioning the project. So it means earlier also there were projects, but startup and academia were not, co-working. So now this strategy has changed, that along with the reforms in spectrum management and infrastructure like right of way, etc., how can we bring them together? On this thought, there is a fund of 75 million per annum. We call it Telecom Technology Development Fund within Department of Telecommunications, and most of this fund is given as grants to startups, academia, industry, from very basic research to pilots, field trials. Another CDOT is working with a 50 million fund. We have developed our own 4G and 5G stack, and that's earlier as I said. We have invested in case of Open RAN as well in 2 consortiums. There is a national mission on interdisciplinary cyber physical systems where 25 institutions in hub and spoke model are working, and one of them is working on the communication specifically at IIIT Bangalore. There is a quantum mission separately with the Department of Science and Technology. We have also similar AI mission, and another mission is called Research National Foundation, where more than 12 billion fund is available for giving the loan and equity. And we have 10 billion India Semiconductor Mission, where more than 9 billion have already been committed. In addition to product development, research development, we have another fund called Production Link Incentive Scheme of 1.5 billion, when we provide about 5% subsidy on the sales to eligible companies, and whatever is being presently deployed in India in case of 4G or 5G is being manufactured within the country by Flextronics, Jabil. So you can say whatever is being inducted by anyone is being manufactured within the country. It's on 6G we have this approach that phase 1 will be start in 25 to 27, when we will have our pre-standard test beds, and in the next phase, naturally from 27, those pre-standard test bed will be graduated to standard test bed because there will be more clarity by 2027. And 30 and beyond, there will be medium to large scale trials of the technology so developed. So I just thought that I should share what is the thought process. Keeping that in mind, we have created this Bharat 6G Alliance from where I belong to. We are working through 7 working groups from spectrum, devices and network technology to the applications green sustainability. and revenue stream. More important is that they are being headed by telecom service providers in most of the cases. So, because ultimately they have to make the investment, so they are very well aware that how technology is going and how can they work from the very beginning in this technology development. For promoting collaborations, we feel that the 6G will be a collaborative platform and we have to utilize the global value chain. So we started with the NextG, and then you can find here the 6G IA, 6G flagship, XGMF we I think did in April, 6G Forum Korea, 5G ACIA and NGMN, but more important has been the latest additions on 8th of October. We added European Union's European Space Agency and our domestic, we have MOU with the NASCOM and TSDSI. So TSDSI is something like ARIB here. They are part of 3GPP, they are partner of 3GPP. So we are working together with our global partners. So we are Bharat 6G Alliance, our India Alliance is pre-standard body and working closely with TSDSI in this standard development. Our membership includes more than 80 we have, which is most of the startups, leading academic institutions, research institutions, and global vendors. You can see Nokia, Ericsson, Samsung, Cisco, and Keysight. So all are present. We have published recently the 4 reports on 8th of October. Those were on spectrum, green sustainability, AI and use case. So they are available on our website. And more important will be, we just came up on 10th of October, a joint statement on 6G guiding principles with most of our partners, global partners, that includes NextG Alliance, 6G IA here, XGMF, 6G Forum, Korea, Brazil, UK. So we believe that the technology development for human will be in a collaborative manner, and we wish to utilize it for education, healthcare, logistic, agriculture. So with this, I think I would like to thank you. I have just completed within 20 minutes. Thank you all. Thank you.
Mr. Rajesh, thank you very much. Please return to your seat.
レジ先生、様どうもありがとうございました。お席にお戻りください。
続きまして、DanKook University Korea Professor Lee HyeonWoo様より B5G
Next, we would like to have Professor Lee HyeonWoo from Korea, DanKook University, to discuss beyond 5G activity in Korea.
Kind introduction. My name is Lee Hyun-woo, professor at university, but I'm also serving as the vice chair of the Mobile Communication Committee in TTA, as well as vice chair of 6G Forum. I'm very happy to share our experience, our vision with you, since previous speaker, Mr. Fuseda, stressed the importance of global collaboration. So that is why I am here. So my presentation in 2 parts. The first one is 5G status in Korea. Second part is for B5G or 6G preparation activities in Korea. Okay, this is the snapshot of 5G status in Korea. And currently, around 65% of mobile users adopt 5G. And in terms of traffic, more than 90% consumed by 5G. So it is rather high. And the average monthly consumption of data for 5G is 30 gigabyte, and for LTE, 4G, 5 gigabytes. So in average, I think around 26 gigabytes, something like that. And in previous session, Rajesh said that in India, you use 27.5 gigabyte per month per user. So it's very high in India. Okay, it's good sign for mobile communication industry. However, recently the expansion of the 5G subscriber speed is a little bit slow, so it may take some time to get 90%, something like that, for 5G. In terms of the private 5G, I heard that yesterday you had some session on private 5G in Japan. We also have the kind of service called EUM 5G. And currently we have 97 site locations by 42 organizations using the private 5G. So compared with 2 years ago, 23, we have 39 locations and 23 organizations. So almost doubled by 2 years. It's a good sign. But still, the size of private 5G in each site is small. So we need some more big organization to adopt private 5G. For example, recently we have some discussion with the Korea Power, electric power company. So if they adopt the private 5G, it can be a big scale. So we have some discussion. And in terms of spectrum, we have a separate spectrum for private 5G, as you can see in blue color. Also, we allocated some part of the millimeter wave spectrum for private 5G. And unfortunately, for commercial service by millimeter wave is stopped because the subscriber number of base station deployment was slower than our expectation. So the license returned to the government. So it's not a good sign. But I heard that in Japan still you are doing some work for millimeter wave. I think we need to learn from you on your experience. Okay, for network deployment station, we have 3 operators in Korea, and one of them already use standalone architecture nationwide. The remaining 2 operators will migrate from non-standalone to standalone. There's one status. And regarding the nationwide coverage, we already have nationwide coverage, but in city area, we have roughly 84 city class areas that were individually covered by 3 operators. But the remaining 131 rural areas, that is jointly deployed by the 3 operators called MOCN architecture. So one base station covers 3 operators in rural areas. Of course, in few years, the 3 operators will deploy their own network, even in rural areas. However, as you can see in the middle, the mobile service market in Korea growth is very slow. For example, compare year 2022 and 23, we just found only 3% increase. The operators invested much money for 5G deployment, but the actual revenue increase only 3%. So it's not sufficient. So all mobile operators try to find out solution how to monetize the investment. However, there's one good sign because new device type like smart glass, for example, from Meta, and a portable head-mount display made from Samsung. Actually, the Samsung HMD will be announced early next week. I think it's more affordable than Apple Vision Pro. maybe around half of the price. So I think the new type of device has two positive impacts. One is the increase the mobile traffic, and second one is to accelerate the URLLC type application. So then that requires some network migration with a standalone architecture. I think so. We are expecting the positive impact by the several new type of devices. Okay, second part is regarding the B5-6E preparations. So before that, I will show some the budget structure in Korea. So the overall government budget is 658 trillion Korean won. So you can say just 1 trillion Korean won is just 0.1 Japanese trillion yen. So roughly 10%. So among them, the R&D budget is 35 trillion. That means roughly around 5.3% of the overall government budget is allocated to research, and it is rather high compared with other countries. This is just for the government funding. So private funding is usually twice bigger than the government funding. So in total, public and private R&D spending will be around 100 trillion US dollars, 100 trillion Korean won. I think it is around around 4% of the GDP of Korea. So in terms of R&D portion, I think we are in the very top class. In previous presentation, I found that in Japan, the R&D funding is managed or distributed by NICT. But in Korea, we have slight different structure. So we have three public organizations called IITP and NIPA and NIA. So three government organizations are handling or managing the fund. Among them, the IITP is handling for R&D funding. And NIPA is supporting non-R&D, but related to technology. For example, SME support or training or proof of concept, blah, blah, data handled by NIPA. And the third one, the NIA, they handle the funding for the government organization, central government or local government, if they need some kind of ICT investment, that was funded by the NIA. So three government organizations are managing and funding for the technology-related fund. I think the amount of among three organizations are almost similar. Okay, this overall scale, in terms of 6E, we have three mega projects. In Korea, the R&D is roughly two categories. One is project-based, the other one is program-based. So program-based is a continual activity, but the project-based is only for designated time, for designated purpose, the special research. But in 6E, it's very important. We have special and very big mega-scale project. We have three. One, we are on the middle of the end of 2025. So three mega projects are ongoing. The first one is 6E core technology research. So that will end this year. And the biggest and most important was the 6E system technology research. Around 370 billion Korean won will be invested in 6 years. So we are in the middle. Recently, we started the 60 low Earth orbit satellite-based research program early next year. So that will use around 300 billion Korean won until year 2023. So the third part I will not touch at this presentation. I will touch on the first and second. Okay, on mobile communication, we have several projects and programs as well. So on general mobile communication, R&D funding is slightly decreasing, and also 60 core technology research is slightly decreasing, but the system technology research is very rapidly increasing for the budget because we are focusing on the 60 preparation. In addition to that, we have a special program for Open RAN related one. The other tools are international collaboration on the 5G and 6G. So we have small, but we have separate program for international collaboration. In first session, Mr. Fuseda from MIC said that in Japan, you are doing some collaboration with the EU, Germany, UK, and Singapore. Actually, we had before with Korea, Japan, but not yet. So, but through this event, I'd like to hope the Korea-Japan joint project again, maybe from next year or next year, something like that. Okay, regarding 60 system research, we have 5 directions for this project. The one is that radio access innovation in terms of capacity, coverage, reliability, etc. That is one. The second is regarding network. The network is already software-based, but we expect more software-centric network in the future, so we should prepare for this direction. And third one is that the 60 is not just on communication. It is a combination of communication, computing, sensing, etc., etc. So we should also prepare for that. And the first thing is that the energy efficient or sustainable network. So we should also pay some attention for this direction. The final one is the supply chain securing. Because recently, because of the tension between USA and China, we have some problem in, for example, in rare earth material. So for that kind of situation, we should secure how to provide the material component or solutions without any big difficulty. So with these 5 directions, we are doing a 6-year project for 6G until 2030. A little bit more detail. So 6G system technology research has 5 R&D areas. Of course, the first one is the 6G radio, including UEN Node B. And the second one is the 6G core. And third one is 6G transport network, especially for optical network, high bandwidth, high capacity, low latency optical network. And the fourth one is end-to-end service. These are the usual R&D scope, but in system research, we added one more very unique area called standard. Of course, before we also had the standard work as a part of some project, but in 6G, standardization itself is one big part. Among 5, the standardization is one of the big areas. So that means the the government will invest more or pay more attention to the acquiring the standard technology. Okay, these are the 6G forum update. Actually, in Korea, we started the 5G forum. It lasted around 10 years. But after that, we migrated to 6G forum about 2 years ago. So basically, we keep the similar architecture for 5G and 6G. But the technical areas are a little bit expanded. As you can see in the red color region, in the left bottom side, we added Hyperspace Open Network Committee that will handle the TN as well as NTN, including the satellite communication. And also we added some ecosystem and standard committee. So before standard and the research promotion done separately, but with this committee, we try to close collaboration between research and standard. So that is one major change. The other working group or committee that's similar. And basically we have two committees. One is the function committee, as you can see in the left bottom side. The other one is the vertical committee. So vertical committee means handles the collaboration with the vertical industry like mobility, smart factory, or public service. These are the area of the vertical committee. Okay, that might be my last page. In previous session, Rajesh also stressed the importance of global collaboration. We are doing a similar approach with major country region as well as neighboring countries. Also with some vertical forum like 5G AA, 5G ACI, they are also our partner. But as Rajesh also said that in recollecting our experience in 5G deployment, we need to do some more work in 6G. For example, proof of concept of 6G technology, or vertical trials for 6G, or spectrum alignment among region or country, and region-specific service. For example, India, you are focusing on the rural area, long-range communication. In Japan, you want to have some satellite or HAPS-based service. I think each region has its own specific service. So for that area, I think if we collaborate before the commercial service, I think that will be beneficial for both parties. So these are the brief status of 5G and beyond 6G activity. Thank you for attention.
Mr. Lee, thank you very much. Alliance for Telecommunications Industry Solution, ATIS, Managing Director, ATIS Next A Alliance, Jaydee Griffith 様より Status of 6G Development in North America についてご講演いただきます。JD 様はリモートでのご出演となります。
Mr. Griffith is presenting remotely.
Can you hear my voice?
Yes, I can hear you.
Are you ready for your presentation?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, so this is yours, please.
It's a pleasure to be presenting to you all this morning. My name is Jaydee Griffith. I'm the Managing Director of the ATIS Next G Alliance. It's a pleasure to present. I really appreciate XGMF for extending the invitation to talk with you all today about North American trends for beyond 5G and into 6G communication. First, I want to provide a little bit of background about the NextG Alliance. The NextG Alliance was founded in 2020 to advance North American mobile technology leadership, really bringing together the entire community of industry, academia, and government to develop a work program that will encompass the full life cycle of 6G, from research development into manufacturing, standardization, and market readiness, as all these pieces need to work together and have a clear connecting path for 6G and future G technologies to really be successful in the commercial marketplace. So that's why we also have a strong emphasis on technology commercialization. NGA has over 80 members across industry, academia, and government, primarily made of technical experts in various telecom related fields, ranging from groundbreaking foundational research in radio technology through practitioners, mobile network operators, as well as government regulators and policy agencies. So it provides a real diverse set of members to really develop a solid position for North America as we move into the 6G era. And through this partnership, we have over 40 publications. I left the QR code here to access NGA's 6G library, where it contains all of our publications across all of our working groups that really showcase, some of the early thoughts in North America on 6G and really the call to action for developing this sort of regional readiness for 6G that NGA provides through some of the visions for this North American 6G roadmap, our roadmap for verticals, as well as our research on specific topics in 6G. I'll kick off by providing a bit of an overview of the state of 5G in North America. So right now, all the major US and Canadian mobile network operators have deployed standalone 5G. I don't have exact spec. I believe most have nationwide coverage of the standalone. But I do think there still are a few of the major operators that may still be only operating in non-standalone mode in some of their coverage areas. But they are rapidly getting close to having all the major operators in both countries having nationwide standalone 5G, which is really good. That allows them to take advantage of all the new features in the core network that we've heard from, Rajesh and Dr. Lee. But it also, we look at how these use cases have still been deployed today, and really it's been traditional mobile broadband, as well as fixed wireless access. Fixed wireless access has taken off quite a bit in the United States, especially, as there are a lot of areas that may have already had 5G coverage, but have limited competition in terms of wireline internet service providers. So this has created an opportunity for MNOs to enter into a market, develop a new customer base, give consumers more choice in how they get their home internet or enterprise internet connections. And it has also helped some of our operators with converged networks, such as AT&T, as well as T-Mobile and Verizon are looking into the space as well, to kind of understand where there may be high demand to expand their wireline fiber networks in the United States. So outside of the public 5G networks, private 5G deployments are still rather limited in both the US and Canada. In the United States, most private cellular deployments, even in 2025, new deployments are using 4G LTE, predominantly in the CBRS band. There is some exceptions around, electrical utility companies do have their own dedicated spectrum for controlling their power grids that they do. Some are starting to operate 4G LTE networks in that space, but predominantly across most industries, they're using the Citizens Broadband Radio Service, or CBRS band. But again, a lot of this is 4G LTE even in 2025, but we are seeing steady growth in 5G CBRS deployments as new equipment becomes available, as well as 5G devices capable of supporting CBRS systems. However, in the North, in Canada, there are, compared to the US, fewer private 5G networks, but those numbers are starting to grow, and they are using both a mix of MNO spectrum. They may get from TELUS or Rogers or Bell, but a lot of the new paradigm that's taking place in Canada over the last couple of years is what's called non-competitive local licensing, NCLL spectrum. This operates very similar to how private wireless licenses are assigned in the C-band in Japan, in a lot of European countries like Germany and the UK, in pretty much everywhere outside the US follows a very similar paradigm with this local licensing model with some differentiation. So when we look back at the early days of 5G, we talked a lot about URLLC and MMTC use cases. We have not seen these really take off in the United States or in Canada. However, in discussion with a lot of our industry partners, especially mobile network operators, they are, optimistic that this may increase as new 5G advanced capabilities are finalized and turned into commercial product. But really a sentiment we're getting from across all of our North American operators is they really want to maximize their return on their 5G investments. And so they're looking at, what they can do with 5G advanced or other features to help create that 5G monetization they were, expecting earlier in the generational cycle. So the state of 5G North America really sets the ground of why, kind of where we are 5 years later in NGA, what our objectives look like. So a key objective is for NGA to be this leading authority on 6G North America, continuing our outreach and growing NGA's profile with both government and industry. We've done a good job, especially in the United States, engaging with our government on when the U.S. and other countries are in bilateral negotiations. So, for example, when the U.S. and India were having a lot of high-level political engagement, we were working with Bharat 6G Alliance, similar with the European Commission, working with 6GIA, as well as our partners in Japan and Korea with XGMF and 6G Forum. So this has been really good in bolstering our international profile while we focus on being a leading authority in North America. Another key area is this market development and vertical engagement. We talk a lot about, what 5G could have been, should have been, what lessons are learned from, the initial rollout of 5G, or even some of the later releases as we look at Open RAN or we look at creating API frameworks to access this. We realize a lot of this is we're building what we think the solution might be from a telecom perspective, but we haven't talked with the customers, especially when we're looking at engaging with other businesses, other enterprises, whether the enterprise is an end user, the enterprise wants to leverage a mobile network in 6G to provide a end service to a consumer. But what we found is really key is we need to build these relationships with the end users, with these other businesses to identify what the ecosystem necessary to make 6G commercial success will look like, so it can benefit everyone in the value chain. We've heard a lot about the issues of over-the-top applications. I can go a long story on that, but I will move on from there. Another key area is this gap identification, mitigation, and correction. We want to ensure that 6G is a complete solution from day one, meaning that we don't have to necessarily rely on previous generations to support basic features that we expect from mobile networks. Voice communication, messaging, roaming, all these should be, key day one features. We may look at, previous gaps in 5G that may have relied on 4G, for example, IoT solutions. We've seen in North America, especially working with the electrical utilities for smart metering, a lot of them use LTE Cat-M modems for their equipment. But the issue we have found, especially with these customers, is that there was no sufficient comparable technology in the 5G era. RedCap had too much performance for what they're looking for, even though it is, reduced capability from standard 5G. and they are concerned that enhanced RedCap may be coming too late for products they expect to have a 25 to 30-year life cycle. So this is one of those gaps we identified. We're looking how we can mitigate and correct, through potential technology like 6G low power wide area as we move in towards 2030. And then developing this roadmap for future technology. This is a lot of what the NextG Alliance has excelled at in its first 5 years. But we want to continue this work as we enter this new stage of 6G with standardization kicking off by continuing our pre-standardization work, because there will be future releases of 6G beyond what we see on day one. And what novel features or enhancements will we need in those future releases to ensure that we're making forward technological progress and meeting the needs of our customers. So we have a lot of active work going on in NGA that's covering these areas, but I do want to highlight 2 key areas that I think may be of interest to you all, given some of the other discussions we've had so far today, but also some of the discussions from previous days around verticals, especially. We are looking to develop our vertical market outreach, working with our market applications working group, who will be conducting use case analyses for several verticals that we're kicking off with electrical utilities, public safety, and agriculture. We target these 3 areas because we think that with 6G, the easiest targets to kind of maximize our impact and potential to generate new revenue opportunities and additional benefit to the broader economy is in areas that would benefit the most from the wide area outdoor coverage that our industry is known for. So that is how we select on these 3 to serve as a starting point, and then we'll expand to additional verticals in the future as we move on. But we really want to understand what the industry specific requirements are for each one of these ones, and then take those requirements, look at the technologies required, and then identify which technologies may be useful across multiple industries. So for example, earlier I mentioned 6G low power wide area. We've started identifying use cases for electrical utilities, public safety, and agriculture that may be a beneficial technology, so we can maximize the impact we can make from the technologies we invest in and build without having to build necessarily bespoke or unique capabilities for each industry. And then another key area that's becoming increasingly interesting, I'll say, is 6G spectrum. So we're currently working on a 6G spectrum recommendations paper with the recent passage in July of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or OB3 as we call it for short. This has drastically changed the 6G expectations for spectrum in the United States, mostly because in the law, it excludes from the Federal Communications Commission the ability to auction off the lower 3 gigahertz, 3.1 to 3.45, as well as 7.4 to 8.4 gigahertz spectrum. As you know, especially with the 7.4 to 8.4, this was considered to be prime spectrum for 6G globally. And so this is creating a lot of potential issues if we're unable to harmonize with the global ecosystem, since that spectrum's been set aside and is unable to be used in an auction fashion for commercial full power exclusive use. So our spectrum working group is looking at evaluating the options for both remaining federal spectrum, that is the spectrum used by federal government agencies in the United States, which there's a considerable amount, or non-federal spectrum that may be used or underutilized for satellite, or some services that may be underutilized or not used significantly anymore, that may be able to be repurposed for full power commercial use in a mobile network. And then quickly on the 6G R&D funding landscape, this One Big Beautiful Bill Act has resulted in the cancellation of one of our flagship programs for wireless R&D, the Public Wireless Supply Chain Innovation Fund. So that was originally a $1.5 billion program, and about $1 billion was returned to the U.S. Treasury after the passage of the bill. So that was unfortunate, especially as I previously worked on that program. But this is going to create a lot of uncertainty around the wireless R&D pipeline in the United States. Similarly, the U.S. National Science Foundation has seen similar cutbacks as well. As so many of you know, the U.S. government's currently shut down, so it's unclear what the budget for the NSF will look like going forward. However, we have seen indication that programs such as the Vertical Integrated Network program has persisted, but we expect, there'll be delays from these program awards due to the shutdown. I will say that in Canada, it's a little bit different. There is, some strategic technology funds recently coming out in Canada to help bolster innovation domestically. But a key thing I think of interest to this audience, especially any European partners there, is in 2024, Canada signed an agreement with the European Commission to allow Canadian companies and academic institutions to participate in Horizon Europe. So this includes programs like 6G SNS, Canadian institutions can partner with European organizations on that. And then quickly to wrap up, we are, embracing and entering in this new phase of 6G development. These recent standardization efforts have really been pushing us along, but we're looking to how we can maximize return on investment so we can, continue to create a solid business case of why 6G investment is so important and essential to driving forward to the benefit of individual companies as well as the broader North American economy. We are really, because of this, we are driving forward a commercial-focused R&D agenda so that operators of all sizes can innovate and maximize their monetization potential. And even though, there is a lot of uncertainty in the R&D funding landscape in the United States right now, we do have a lot of hope because we have seen indications from the current administration that they have an interest in driving leadership of the U.S. and its allies in 6G and leading the way forward and how we can, maximize the impact of 6G going forward. And with that, thank you all very much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you all today and looking forward to the panel later. Thank you.
Mr. Jaydee Griffith, thank you very much for your presentation. 続きまして、6G
Next, we are to hear from Mr. Colin Willcock, Chairman of the Board of 6G AI. His title is Update and Results from European 6G.
Mr. Colin, welcome. Stage is yours.
Thank you very much. And good morning, everyone. So, I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about the European picture and really concentrating on that smart network and services we just heard in the previous presentation, this European research program for 6G research. And rather than just going through numbers and talking about what might be, I wanted to try and show some actual results. What have we actually achieved? Let's see how I do. Anyway, thank you very much for the invitation to present. Maybe to start, I can just talk about who I'm representing. So as was said, I am chairman of the board of the 6G Industry Association, and we are the European Industry Association for all things 5G and 6G. We have somewhere around 430 members, and they span everything from vendors, operators, verticals, other associations, academics, research institutes. So we hope that we have a representative set of the whole ecosystem within our association. As many of the other associations, we see it vital that we collaborate. We believe that 6G should be a single standard for the world. And that means the world needs to be involved in creating that technology. There are unique use cases in Japan, in India, in other places. There's unique technology being developed. And we need to make sure we encompass that in the solution that we develop for 6G. 6G needs to be a solution for the world, and that means the world needs to be involved. And that's why we spent a lot of time with these collaboration, with these MOUs, being here today, trying to link up with Japan, with India, with US, with all the other things, because that is the way to get understanding, and that is the way to have one global standard to meet the world's requirements. We also, like many of the associations, create many white papers giving the European view. Everything from 6G vision to how we transform from 5G to 6G. These are all available on the web. Also, a lot of the major inputs beyond the 6GIAs, so from SNSJU, from projects like HexaX2, which you might have heard of, a lot of those are also available there for you to download and look at. So we try and set the agenda for Europe. We try and give the European position on critical things. And because we have quite a large membership, getting on for 500 organisations, we feel confident that that is representative of the European view. So let's move on to the research side, the hopefully interesting part. So there is this large European level research programme, 6G SNS, Smart Networks and Services. It will invest at least 1.8 billion euros in 6G research. It is equally funded from the private and the public side, and it is run by my association, the 6GIA, together with the European Commission. So we jointly run the programme. And this means that we can make sure that this investment, this European investment of public money, is industrially focused, meeting the requirements of industry. As was said in the previous presentation, this isn't about PowerPoint slides. This isn't about nice conferences. There's an aspect of that, but what we're trying to see is actual results, actual impact. We're trying to see contributions to standardization. We're trying to see IPRs. So, a large investment, 1.8 billion euros. What have we been using that money for? Where are we in this story? So up till now, we have more than 80 projects which have been funded. In actual fact, I need to update this slide. We have now nearly 100 funded projects. 100 separate funded projects. One of them is HexaX2, for example. So some of the projects are of a substantial size and impact. We have had somewhere around 1,200 different organizations funded, different companies, or universities or research institute. And maybe the last two are the most interesting, where we have 26% SME participation. So of all the money that we have invested, all the public money, a quarter of that has gone to SMEs, to these small companies. Now, why is that important? Why do we hold that up as something important? Well, we know that the growth in our industry, the new ideas, the innovation, they often start in the academic world, but it's the SMEs that then drive that into product reality. It's the SMEs that have the chance of hypergrowth, if you will, actually making a new market, actually creating new things. So SMEs we see as very, very important, and we're very happy that we have such a high funding level for SMEs in the programme up till now. The second number I'd like to highlight is the number of participating countries. So currently we have 33 participating companies up to this point. Canada will be then 2034, and there are some others on the horizon. Why is that important? It's important because, as I said, for one 6G standard, we need to work together. And the working together isn't just like presentations we have today. It's really working together on technical issues, on technical problems. And having many countries involved, well beyond just the European countries. This is vital to breed common understanding, common ideas, common solutions. So we have joint projects with Japan, with Korea, with US. The UK is now back into Horizon Europe. Canada is just joining. So we have, if you will, a critical mass of countries involved that we can begin to see where the consensus is. And in many ways, beyond the results that I will show today, the key thing this program is trying to do is trying to find some pre-standardization consensus. Anyone who's been involved in 3GPP standardization knows that it's a very complicated business. You have 400-500 of the world's experts in a big room, much bigger than this, and they're all discussing what the new standard should be. And they all have their own ideas. And the issue here is we need to come down to one idea, or a small number of ideas in the end, so that we can find a common standard. And that's very difficult. And it's almost impossible if everyone in the room comes with a different idea. And this program has provided an environment where many of these ideas can be discussed. And because so many countries are participating, it means if in these projects you can have a common idea of what is the best solution or best solutions, but a small number, then it saves a lot of time in standardization. So that pre-standardization consensus, I believe, is really important. This is a very busy slide. It tries to show of the existing projects what they're actually working on. Now, I'm pretty sure at the back of the room you won't be able to read what's on this slide. To be honest, even standing here at the front, I struggle a little bit. But these slides will be shared afterwards, and actually on the website there is the ability to drill down into these projects and look exactly what they're doing. But the key message here is there's a lot going on, and it covers a very broad scope of research. You'll see that we're covering everything from high-level architecture right the way down to microelectronics. Why is this important? Well, when we have the panel shortly after these presentations, we'll talk about what's new about 6G. And I think one of the things about 6G is that integration, that bringing things together, bringing technologies together, be that AI or cloud, sensing, lots of new ideas, which is hopefully bringing together. And it's that integrating those ideas, which I think is going to be one of the key strengths. And that means in a research program, if we wish to develop the 6G technologies, then we need to cover this broad scope to make sure the pieces of the jigsaw fit together. And that is what we got here. One of the other things which it is perhaps worth mentioning is the participation of the so-called verticals. So in the telecoms world, we call verticals any other industry which is not telecoms. Now, this is interesting because many of these industries, be they automotive or media or other, are much bigger than our industry. Now, I suppose traditionally we haven't necessarily had them as the key user in our technologies, but these are major industries with major potential. Today, perhaps we don't fully fulfill that potential. 5G is still very early in its life. Yes, we have the first versions of 5G deployed. Yes, we have 5G standalone, broadly deployed. But many of the things we have learned about the need of these other industrial domains is actually more pushed to 5G Advanced, the new versions, the evolved version of 5G, which we are beginning to push out now. So we should not make judgments on 5G too early. And 6G definitely needs to cover those industrial domains and more industrial domains beyond it. And what is interesting is in these projects, these 80 or 100 projects that are already running, we see greater vertical participation than we have in the 5G era. So in the 5G world, we developed the technology, we had the prototypes, and then we tried to take it to the various different automotive, smart media, smart home, all the other areas. We tried to then apply it. We then learned some of the things that were missing, and we created 5G Advanced. In the 6G world, we are seeing these same industrial domains being evolved from the start, from the initial creation of technology and requirements. We're seeing them there. And that is what is different, and that's what gives hope that we can make even more impact with 6G in the vertical domains. So let's have a look at the outcomes. What have we actually achieved, especially since I've got 6 minutes left? This will have to be rather quick. Okay, this is a very high-level view of where we are now with the SNS. Maybe the most important thing is talking about standardization contributions here at the top. So we've had over 1,000 standardization contributions, 1,000 separate documents submitted into the ITU world, where we've been trying to push this critical idea of values, not just having numbers for requirements, but also values. So that's coming from this European project. But we've also had many hundreds of contributions to 3GPP, directly contributing to where that standard will be. And that's critical. That's what we want. We want to have an actual impact on what 6G will be. One of these contributions is to do with the use case family. So last year, SA in 3GP had a workshop where it asked the various regions around the world to say, what do they believe the key 6G use cases would be? We were able to create a European consensus on these 6 families of use cases where we believe these are the critical ones for 6G. I haven't unfortunately got time to go into them in any great detail, but beyond just defining these use cases, we will also be able to give the first KPIs, the first actual requirements in terms of performance to actually meet the requirements of these use cases. So let's very briefly, in the couple of minutes I have left, talk about some specific results. So the first 2 I want to look at are very specific, are very microelectronic. So one is this idea of electronic components via printed and thin film deposition. So we have projects which have developed this technology, trying to create these sustainable IoT sensor nodes. So one of the things we believe about 6G is that sensors are becoming ever more important. This digital twinning, this ability to model the physical world in the digital domain, this requires many sensors of many different types. And this technology has the ability to make that far more realistic in terms of cost, in terms of energy consumption. So this is a game changer. And it shows some of the breadth of what we're doing. The second area is these intelligent surfaces. This again is quite an exciting area. It's maybe not in the first release of 6G, but it does provide a solution to some of the issues we have with ever-increasing number of antennas and blind spots and other stuff. So this hopefully then is a way of improving coverage, improving the actual user experience for 6G. And this has very specific requirements to do with cost, to do with size. And this is quite exciting that they've created real demonstration systems with real elements to actually show that. Then looking at a more general level, so this is not looking at one specific technological aspect, it's trying to put together large trials of 6G prototype technology and see how it works. And here we're actually using in large live audience. So for example, one of the things they did was they actually created this system during a football match, Real Madrid football match, involving many, many tens of thousands of people. And they actually then try out some of these aspects. So it didn't mean that all the 100,000 people could use this technology, but they did have something like 1,000 users, which is quite a large-scale trial for such a technology. And they've also very successfully used this in museums to provide a sort of 3D advisor, a guide going around the museum using these things. So some quite exciting use cases on large audiences showing the value of the technology. The last use case, or the last example I just wanted to pick, was to do with ports. Now, we often talk about many applications of our technology. I mentioned automotive and smart media and all the rest of it. We don't talk a lot about ports. Now, ports are a very interesting example because often they actually own a lot of the infrastructure. So it's not just the ships and the containers. They also have the roads around that. They often have schools. They have electrical infrastructure. So there's a lot, almost like a small town in a port. And by instrumenting that with aspects of 6G technology, we can see what would be possible, not just in a port environment, but potentially also in an urban environment, in a city, in a town. And one of the things we know from 5G is we need to convince these vertical industries that they want to use this technology, that they invest in this technology. And this is a wonderful example where in the port of Valencia, they're seeing real advantage from using this technology. They actually even invest their own money coming around to conferences saying, this is really important, this works well, this brings real commercial advantage. And with that, I would like to thank you for your time and look forward to the next presentation. Thank you.
Mr. Colin, thank you very much for your presentation. 続きまして、Singapore University of Technology and Design Associate Promote AI and Digital Innovation and Director Future Communications Program, Tony Cox様より Way Forward for FCP Towards 6G.
And today we would like to hear from Associate Provost and Director from SUTD in Singapore, Professor Tony Quek, who will discuss Way Forward for FCP Towards 6G.
The program you heard is actually a very large program. So I'm leading this B5G program, which we call Future Comms R&D program. This started around 2021 with an investment about 68 million Sing dollar. The first phase ended actually this year, end of July. we started actually looking at really building ecosystem. How do we bring into future applications? And we started looking at Open RAN very early as a way to diversify as you know, the lockdown by a few vendors in 5G and beyond. And this phase actually ended, and we have a bridging about 20 million from 1st August to the next few years as we prepare for phase 2 next year, because we try to understand how AI, new technologies, NTN will affect, so that actually we built a bigger program than the phase 1, starting from 2026 all the way to 2030. So I'll give some of the ideas that we are actually planning with this bridging and way forward. So actually, like a lot of programs around the world, it's really ecosystem. So 6G programs, you need to have a partnership. This cannot be purely, although I'm from academia, driving this program, but part of it is it's easier for a university professor to drive a program because of this geopolitical situation, so you probably can understand. But actually the mandate for the program is actually to bring investment to Singapore, build up startup, and also smaller players. That's why we chose Open RAN at the start, because there's more opportunity to bring new player to Singapore. So we have some investment from a few companies, and I'll also share another big company who's going to invest. It's really build capability and also bring especially talent, because most of our talent moved to AI, so we need to bring them back to ICT and communication. So this is what we are trying to do in the phase 1. Established partnership is important, so at the start we've been working very closely with the Japan program, NICT, JSEC, XGMF, and also other programs around the world. Actually, we have a partnership with 5G Forum in Korea and hope to have a partnership in 6G Forum. Another part is to actually contribute as a small country like Singapore. How do we ensure that our research can actually integrate? So we need to be active. That's why we chose ORAN, Open RAN Alliance, so that one of the key things is to build an Asia-Pacific OTIC in Southeast Asia so that we can serve the partners, and I'll explain how we can contribute to actually telco in Singapore. Another is to look at new opportunities. So we joined AI RAN Alliance after it was established in 2024, and to hope that can contribute as working group, but also set up an AI RAN endorsed lab in the hope that we can also bring ecosystem, testing, and essentially startup. I think this is one of the vision which I'll share what we're going to do. Bring conferences like WRF. 3GPP will be having a RAN meeting in next year, June, which is an important meeting where we close release 20 and move to 6G. So we're trying to contribute in different parts and work with the partners all around the world. So it's a very small team. So this is, I have a team in my university and have a dedicated team on testbed. We'll show what we have been doing for the past 4 years, and we hope to continue to expand. As I mentioned, we have started looking at this open modular design or open RAN systems at the start in 2020, which is during the COVID time. Our vision for Singapore is looking at services. So instead of looking at RU&D, we were looking at what happens the assemble part, the rig part, how we can build applications, and was the right decision as when we see AI RAN comes into play since 2024. So I've been bringing a fair bit of ecosystems to Singapore. And the AI native design was actually the right timing in 2024 when AI RAN Alliance started. So we have been building a rig, which was a spin-off a company because of this program, and also a few demos that we've demonstrated together with a partner. So one of the mandates for the programs is that we still have research program to fund the universities, but then we will ensure that we are able to demonstrate every year at big programs like MWC or different air show of capabilities. So this is a test bed that we built in the phase 1. Different private sort of experimental band given by the government because it's a national program that works closely with the IMDA or MDDI. So, and also bring some of the small ecosystems, ORAN vendor, and also there's open source vendor where it's more for academia to elaborate. So we think drone applications were important. We built a drone arena in a campus. It's not very big. It's like 4-story, 300 meter. But we are in discussion to build a bigger one in a campus. It's like 7-story and much bigger. So because we look at drone is going to be an important applications, and we're watching very closely low altitude economy. In the campus, we have classrooms, so we are looking at how cyber physical will change the future of education. AI will change, I think connectivity will change. How we bring new platforms like smart glasses, and so this is why we hope to try to understand to bring in this. Metaverse testbed is still very preliminary. We try to understand this type of new economy, how it affects services. As I mentioned, we have an OTIC that we do certification. So this will be related to what I'm going to share about working with the telco. We certified some of the vendor in terms of their RU, DU, CU. Essentially, they'll roll out, hopefully next year, first commercial 5G O-RAN network next year. Another part, I'll talk about NTN, which is our vision. NTN is very important, but you need to have a lot of testing and integration. I do agree, a lot of the future is use case, so you need to do end-to-end testing, integration. It has to be trusted, how to bring applications. Security is an important, which today I'm not share. We have building different cyber ranges. And important is how to ensure to connect our future applications or sector, which is maritime is very important. The future of maritime connect to NTN and security. So we're building test bed to connect every one of them. So this is a snapshot of what we have been building over the 4 years. There's a lot of a component. More important is that the companies are bringing so that we have projects with them and build ecosystem. It will continue to expand, and this lab can be used for OTIC, O-RAN, as well as the AI-RAN Alliance, which is going to expand from the indoor lab towards outdoor, because we've seen University of Tokyo has a really interesting outdoor. So now we actually get some idea how to build the outdoor, and then subsequently I'll talk about vision in airport for use case. So monetization is important. So what one of the mandate we wanted to do is bring the ecosystem to Singapore. Look at O-RAN and bring the US. We work closely with Japan, Rakuten, YRP in testing, PlugFest, as well as most important is can we help the telco, this is the second largest telco in Singapore, to look at Open RAN, look at enterprise. So the past 3-4 years we have been helping them to build use case, right? Energy saving, how to apply AI into their applications. So these are some of the demonstration that we built at MWC, because they have a Nokia core, so they actually use the Nokia 5G. So essentially one idea is that they use the Nokia core, but DUCU and RAN on Open RAN system. So we're building some security sort of feature applications, drone applications, and also the plan is to actually commercialize next year. So we hope that there was some announcement. So what are our plans for the next phase? So our next phase to look at, I think, is about use case, is actually also trying to continue our initial investment in phase 1 as we evolve O-RAN, ARN, and also NTN. But as a small country, I think our investment is small compared to the rest of the bigger countries. So that technology has to be used for dual purpose. One is still economic capture, another one is important is national resilience, right? That's why a lot of partners ask us why we do NTN, because we are so small. Direct access, we have access to a cellular base station. So I think the motivation is that actually this technology is important because it's going to affect our future aviation and maritime. So we look at NTN. I'll just share today what we're going to plan for NTN and also essentially related to resource scalability, especially in ARN. So I think our strategy is besides research and innovation, you really need to think about use cases and scenario and architecture. So it's like what big programs are looking. Then we look at the component research, whether it's NTN, sustainability, air native, ISAC. Platform design is important because platform design can bring ecosystem in. System integration is the key. That's why the whole investment, we have to build sandbox and system integration so that we can build proof of concepts and trials for company, so that we do not make the same mistakes in the early days like wave. And that will have a feedback to industry, to our telco vendor, just like what we did for Open RAN, the alliance, whether it's ARN Alliance, Open RAN, 3GPP, regulator, especially for energy efficient type of design and also vertical. So we look at the closed feedback. So essentially this is similar, this is a very similar strategy, but it's actually, we have to really care about demonstration and research parallel. So this is one of our vision is that by 2030, because we are building a new airport, which is Terminal 5, which will be ready at 2035. So Changi Airport Terminal 5 will be the size of Terminal 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you've been to Singapore, it's actually all the 4 terminals add together the size. So with such a large airport, the challenge is that you're going to use a lot of robots, more than human, because it's very hard to hire so many humans. So this will be a fantastic end goal that we're going to target. Whatever technology we plan, whether it's Open RAN, AI RAN, and also NTN, how do they play and role in this new mega airport? How would Gen AI, robotics come together? So this is our vision together with that's why we wanted our phase 2 to pause and plan take some time to plan together with our agency so that our infra investment can be aligned together with all these plans for the future. Next, as we built this ARN test bed, we hope it's essentially to also spin off companies, whether there's few working group, what about the new architecture, AI and RAN, different hybrid architecture, all the new applications, we bring robotic companies. So one of the potential, how can we bring robotic startup, link them to this AI RAN architecture and create new opportunities and applications. So next is this NTN test bed. As a small country, we don't think we have the capacity to go into a satellite constellation. I think we're going to be a player that focuses on ground, GNOB on ground, because at the ground level, we can have this GNOB plug into our ship, plug in our aeroplane. But building an environment so that our partners can do testing, because all this you need to test end-to-end, and also look at opportunities in the future, how ground station can actually be collaborate, because the ground station operate independently. And Singapore is so small, you don't have the same mass to build so many ground stations. So how do ground station essentially able to coordinate and bring AI into? So we have some, so you can see that as we build test bed, we were thinking about what we're going to demo in the next 3 to 4 years. Of course, it will evolve, but that's our vision, how we can bring technology in, then essentially feedback to the ecosystem to do their research. So the NTN initiatives are very quickly with 6 more minutes. So we are very happy and honored to work with our Japanese partners, whether it's JSAC, the MIG, VRV, and other partners that we actually did this live demo at Osaka Expo, which is in this May. It's the first, I would think it's the first 5G NR demo across 2 countries. I know there's some demonstration in Europe and other places, but also in Japan, I understand. But it's from Singapore to actually Osaka Expo. So this end-to-end pipeline will continue. We're going to put in more of this capability so that we can continue to exploit this pipeline that work together. Then we can bring in maritime. So our future demonstration, how would all this change the future of sort of a green maritime? So our vision of this test bed is that, as you know, NTN is evolved. So instead of focusing on 6G, which we are not very sure, so let's build a 5G NTN test bed that we can actually serve our partners in release 18, 19, or 20. Then with the phase 2 money, then we'll focus on future 6G NTN lab. And these 2 labs eventually by 2030 will integrate, because the NTN connectivity with the intelligence on the GNOB side and ORAN, ARAN will integrate, because I mentioned our NTN is on the ground. So this investment will allow us to be very efficient and to integrate so that we don't do multiple, as you know, we have only a small amount of money, so we want to maximize the potential to leverage on capability. So partners is very important. So we see the integration of AI NTN is going to be very important. So this is where we can start early to look at that. How do we bring even neural network concepts inside NTN integration, channel prediction, traffic. So this is a bit more research, but this can be done with our partners and our test bed. And other thing is this sharing model. So I think we are also discussing with our Korean partners, looking at how would the ground station in Korea, ground station in Singapore, how would spectrum handover, prediction, slicing. So this is in discussion. We've continued working with JSEC. We're starting to look at ATIS as they build their own regenerative satellite and using experimental satellite from ESA. As mentioned, we don't have a satellite. ASD is actually doing a trial with Singtel already in Singapore. So these are the players that we're going to contribute, and we want to bring more ecosystem, and we are happy that we can work with all the partners here. So the last few slides, I have 3-4 minutes. So it's AI native network. Japan is a strong player in this. We have SoftBank leading this. I'll not dwell into this all different working group. I think the motivation is, as a small country, we thought this is an opportunity. That's why we wanted to drive this as an endorsed lab, which I'll just now share you, so that we can bring players to look into this lab to explore what's the different applications, because doing AI-RAN need to monetize. And you need to monetize what is the use case and applications. So token communication is very one important area we want to focus on. 3GPP has started to look at, because a lot of future applications is going to be agent-based, or is going to be based on token. So how do you design the communication protocol? RAN intelligent controller is also an important area, because it will continue to evolve as we push. So how do you bring all these different technologies? This is a bit more research, but this is where we did a spin-off, NeuroRAN, which did the first model splitting. So from NVIDIA, they say this is the first time you have a live model splitting of the UE and the H using an NVIDIA platform. With that, I'm on time, and I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Mr. Tony, thank you very much for your presentation. From
now, we would like to begin the panel discussion. This program will be facilitated by Mr. Takehiro Nakamura of NTT DOCOMO. Mr. Nakamura, the floor is yours. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Nakamura from NTT DOCOMO. I will be moderating this panel discussion session. I'd like to switch to English.
Okay, so I'd like to start the panel discussion, and I'd like to invite 4 speakers and Professor Nakao here. Please come to the stage. And also, I'd like to invite Jaydee-san. I'm sure that the Jaydee-san can join this panel discussion. Thank you very much. And yeah, Jaydee-san is maybe in US. I'm sure that it's a late night, but thank you very much for your joining, Jaydee-san. Okay. Oh, thank you, Jaydee-san. Hi. I can see you. Okay, good. Okay, so I prepared some questions, but considering the limited time for this panel session, I just prepared 3 questions, but actually 2 questions, actually. And yeah, question 1 is a very fundamental question, and question 2 and 3 is a similar question, but question 2 is a question to foreign people, and the third question is a question for Professor Nakao. Yeah, okay. So I'd like to start the question 1, and sorry, oh yeah, I will try to read. And the question 1, please tell us about your predictions for each country and the region regarding the new business models, changes in industrial structure, and the social impact, such as education, healthcare, urban developments. That's 3Z, not 3Z, 6Z will bring. Okay, so I'd like to have an answer in the order of the speaking order. Yeah. So first, Rajesh-san, please provide your answer from India point of view.
Hello. Thank you.
So monetization is a common theme across operator. This is my thought process. So the operators in the West, they have greater access to cloud. So they will maybe try to move toward softwareization, whereas the big economies in the East will be focusing on digital infrastructure. Even in case of India, we are utilizing the 4G and 5G for taking this connectivity to the last person for the government services. And one of the challenge we see that the vertical ministries or department, they are still not aligned working with the telecommunications. I think that was the views expressed even by 6GIA. So I think entire government has to work together with industry, startups, because they have a lot to do in this ecosystem development. So in brief, I think I have this.
Yeah, thank you very much. Next, Lisa, from Korea point of view.
Okay, thank you for the good question. From my point of view, and also from my experience, from first generation to fourth generation, the mobile communication only handles the business area or personal area. But in 5G, the mobile communication is used for extended for vertical industries. So from my point of view, 6G will expand to the society, including health, education, safety, or security. So I think the one key characteristic of 6G is the mobile communication explosion to the all society. So that is my view at this moment. Thank you.
Good, good. Thank you very much. Okay, so next, Jaydee-san, could you give us your views from US, North America point of view?
It's a really good question. I think the key thing I see from a North American perspective is that we've had such a consumer-focused business model through 3G, 4G, into 5G, but we're really seeing that adoption is peaking. You know, in North America, we have what we call the buffet model, where it's a lot of unlimited plans, fixed monthly rates. So there's a lot less incentive for consumers to. They're incentivized to consume more and don't have to pay for it. So it's a very much consumers are demanding more and want to pay less money. That's not a really good recipe for financial health for your mobile network operator. As we move into 6G, we've touched a lot in this session as well as many of the other presenters. Verticals, I think, is where it's going to be. How we can build these business-to-business relationships, but it's something we can't take for granted because we've talked about how. 4G is going to be great, and the businesses will want to partner with operators to create new services. Well, then 5G is going to be great, and businesses want to partner with operators and create new services. But we haven't seen that fully take off yet. I think the challenge we're going to see is how do we kind of meet these businesses at their level in a way they can work with us in an open manner, or else we're just going to see all these new applications running over the top.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. Okay, so next, Colin-san. Yeah, please provide us your European point of view.
Thank you. I think it might be a mistake to consider 6G in isolation. What I mean by that is rather like in the same way as art is very much influenced by the society which it's developed in. I think there's an aspect of that also with technology. And I feel that some of the great advantages of 6G might not be 6G in isolation, but the way it enables many of the other dreams and aspirations to do with AI, to do with quantum, to do with cloud. Maybe not getting the headlines, but underpinning many of these concepts and ideas, and indeed without it, those other ideas, those other dreams in AI and what have you, will not be possible. Perhaps I could highlight one other thought. As we move this telecoms or mobile communication technology from the user, the person, from the spotty teenager, as we move it more towards a service for other industries, for the digital framework for our digitizing industries, but beyond that, also the digital framework to digitize our societies. I think we will get to the point with 6G we have to question the current model, which is purely commercial. The current model where it's a series of commercial operators who decide where there is coverage, where the performance is. I wonder if in a world which is increasingly fragmented and increasingly geopolitically dangerous, that it will be in the national interests to have a public-funded network. Not to conflict with the commercial networks, but to provide an extra level of security, robustness, and provide a unique network for the government organisations and indeed defence. Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, okay, let's try to have an answer from everybody. Okay, next, Tony-san from Singapore. Yeah.
So as I think I briefly mentioned, is what we're looking at, the reason why we delayed our phase 2 preparation is for us to have a year to think about. It's really, I agree, 6G is not isolated. It's going to be a big connecting pipe, more than that, that can actually make AI much more immersive, much more low latency as it integrate across, for example, a new airport, new services, how robotics becomes more interactive. Because we are planning in a future where a lot of our population is getting older, so we need to use a lot of platform. So easy to use is important. And also, as an opportunity, maybe it will change the way aviation and maritime works when this technology integrate well. So this is our vision.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so Nakao Sensei, please provide us your Japan point of view.
I thought I'm just answering that question 3, but okay. Thank you. So as everyone said, so I think first we need to understand what 6G is bringing us. You know, honestly speaking, so this crowd, this audience today is an expert on 6G, but I hear the voice from the general public that what's the difference between a 6G from 5G? You know, we are still struggling on deploying 5G now, right? But I think we need to learn from each other that what is really different. You know, maybe as Jaydee said, it's an more industry oriented, or maybe we can bring resilience from NTN, right? But I think we need to first, you know, make a clear statement that 6G is fundamentally different from 5G, and that's why we need this standardization. And we learned from experts from different countries, but we need to, you know, unite force to deliver this clear message to general audience. Yep.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, I have an additional question. I'm sorry for that. Yes, yeah. There's some almost everybody mentioned that the verticals. Yes, maybe for the future business in the 6G era. the vertical collaboration with vertical industry, vertical players will be very important. But yes, even in the 5G case, we try to have a good collaboration with vertical industries to create a new business. But that is not so successful yet, but to be successful. But what should we do toward the 6G? What we can do for now toward the 6G? Any views? Maybe Colin, you have any answer?
I'm glad you're giving me the easy questions.
Oh, good.
Yes. I think the first thing to say is what I mentioned in my talk, that we shouldn't be too hard on 5G. And what I mean by that is, in terms of the lifetime of 5G, it's still fairly near the beginning. It's really just maybe going to secondary school, certainly not university. So it still has a long life in front of it. You know, 6G systems aren't going to be out till earliest 2030, probably beyond that, 2035, something like that, for wide deployment. So 5G has a lot of evolution still to come. Having said that, I think it's clear that this deployment of mobile communication technologies in new industrial domains is more tricky than we initially thought. And a lot of it, I think, is to do with perception, that we feel this must be core to what they're doing in automotive. Whereas in automotive, they say, well, this is a nice to have, but, you know, I build cars, I don't build networks. And it really is working together deeply, not having a little meeting and creating a document. It's really showing the technology, building the trial systems, talking between the various different experts. And from that, you tend to get not just 1 + 1, but 1 + 1 = 3. In other words, when the experts work together with a real trial system, they don't just learn from each other, they creatively look at new ideas which they can then do. And in many ways, that's a lot of what we're seeing in 5G Advanced. So more of the same, an understanding that it's a tricky problem, not waiting for 6G. Keep investing in 5G deployment in these new domains, and listen and talk to each other as early as possible. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I believe so. Any other person want to provide your answer? Yeah, Lisa, please.
Yeah, I think that is also my big lessons from 5G deployment. Because the reason that the 5G for particular industry expansion was slower than expectation is that we started too late for vertical trial in 5G case. So in Korea, just completing the standard, we hurry up to make commercial service. We don't have sufficient time in vertical trial, POC, something like that. So maybe in 6G, we need to prepare in advance before the commercial service for trial in vertical industry, trial in society expansion, something like that. So that is my view.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
I think I have just only one line, that in case of 5G, we have just experimented the integrated intelligent village concept, where in a village level we are implementing all the promises of 5G, which is precision agriculture, education, health, all we are bringing together. So I think similar, I think we have to mature 5G before going for 6G.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Okay, it's okay? Yes, time is running. Okay, so let's go to the question 2 and 3. The question is, now that the international standardization has begun at ITO and the 3GPP, what kind of international collaboration should we focus on moving forward? What do you expect from Japan in this regard to speakers from the foreign countries? Yes, and for the Professor Nakao question is a similar question, but what should Japan do overseas to achieve this? Okay, so yeah, actually, why I asked the vertical industry related questions? Maybe that should be included, I think, for the international collaboration after this. But yeah, please feel free to provide your answer. Okay, so Rajesh-san, please.
So I think more important that I think there has to be a common requirement, and we make a 6G commoditize, not only the next G. Because we have to think in that line, and in that direction, just recently, some 5 days back, most of the persons on the dais were even in New Delhi, and we came to a common framework we call Joint Statement Endorsing Principles on 6G, where we agreed a common, secure, open, resilient, inclusive, and sustainable 6G by design. So that's something brought together, a minimum. So I'm sure that such type of co-working is required. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Lee-san, please.
Okay. To me, 6G is just extension to extreme, two extremes. One, the lower extreme is the sensor. The higher extreme is to the antenna or satellite. So for that antenna area, we are doing several work. So from Korea perspective, just now we are focusing on LEO satellite, not only for business but also for safety, disaster control, or defense purpose. But I found that in Japan, you're focusing on the HAPS. So I think if we can share or collaborate in NTN, one by LEO, the other by HAPS, I think it will be beneficial for both countries. So this is just one example.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so Jaydee-san, please provide your answer.
Yeah, so I think, there's a lot of ways we can collaborate moving forward, especially as we enter into standardization. I think a key area is going to be, how do we ensure the work we're doing in 3GPP and the ITU makes a meaningful impact on, the business and economic and societal outcomes. I think one of the challenges we face, Japan, Korea, India, Europe, Singapore, we're all in different, we have different societies, different, more technologically advanced, very tech forward, some that maybe just getting up to that phase, some that's in between. I think the issue that we see is that all of our operators still have the same challenges with 5G, despite having completely different regulatory regimes, completely different, societal views on technology. I think there's a lot that we can learn from each other, especially mobile network operators, on these challenges and how we can work together to move forward on, 6G work. I've looked at the draft 6G use case report. If you take out system and operational aspects, there's 143 use cases. And I would personally put money on some of those that will never see the light of day, because I think they're unrealistic, possibly period, or unrealistic use cases for mobile networks, just because there's going to be alternative technologies that are going to be easier to access, easier to develop on, that we won't necessarily see, at least in the first 5 to 10 years of 6G. So I think we need to work together on identifying what are the key, most important aspects of 6G, most important use cases that are going to have the most global impact, focus our resources on those to build a extensible network so it can still be future forward, but ensure on day one we're supporting what our customers' needs and what our operators can provide and where they want to expand their businesses.
Yep, thank you very much. Yeah, actually, Jaydee-san, sorry, again. I'd like to ask a question to Jaydee-san again, and on the verticals. I know that Next Year Alliance also very aggressive for the collaboration with the vertical industries, and you had a workshop with vertical industries or something. And between the NZA and XGMF, we agreed to address on the monetization and the business, yes, toward the 6G. So what do you think about the collaboration on the verticals and the creation of the new business with the verticals as a further collaboration between the 6D organization? Do you have any views on that?
Yeah, I do think there's a lot of information sharing that can happen, because even if we do have different regulatory paradigms for, like utilities or for transportation, there's still a lot of the same technology and same practices being used. I really like Colin's note around, we really need to listen to what these verticals, what the challenges are. I agree that we've kind of assumed that the telecom industry is the center of the universe. And we've created this awesome technology. Why isn't everyone using it? Well, it's because their business is building cars, or their business is moving electrons in a power grid. It's not building networks. So I think really understanding those businesses, but also I think what's really key is understanding the timelines involved. Electrical utilities want things in service for 25, 30 years. That's a lot longer than many operators want to run a single generation of equipment. So how do we address that? Do we do backwards compatibility, for some sort of forward compatibility, but also understanding where the priorities land, because every operator plays a different role in their national environment. I think there's a lot of collaboration we can learn beyond like, hey, where are our common priorities and what services we want to provide? What are some common industries we want to address? And how can we, use lessons learned in North America to support Japan, to support Europe, and really try to maximize the economic growth globally.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Good. Okay, so Colin-san, please provide your views.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's clear that standardization has started. Obviously in 3GP is where the key details will come. There will be other fora, of course, that will discuss various aspects, but 3GP, where a lot of the technology we'll actually deploy is defined. And I think we need to keep in mind the realities of that. So what is being discussed at 3GP? What is the agreed timeline? And we should not try and do anything that conflicts with that. Coming with wonderful new ideas which are not compatible with what's already been agreed in 3GP, that's not helping anyone. So having said that, there are still many areas where we can usefully collaborate. It's really at the study item phase now, so they're looking at ideas, but they certainly haven't got most of 6G tied down. And we also need to remember that it is not a one stop, as in 2028, this is 6G and it's finished. It has always been the case that we have evolution of these technologies and new features coming forward. So there are many, many things we can usefully collaborate on, both in terms of technology, in terms of architecture, in terms of specific areas which tend to be for later releases, and obviously also on monetization, which has been raised before. We clearly need a rationale for deploying 6G. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Okay, Tony-san.
Okay, I'll keep it short. So I think from Singapore perspective, there's three. One is I think Singapore can serve as really the window for ASEAN. So I think the partnership that we can with different partners is that you can look at how you can actually use Singapore to do fast trial, fast deployment as an entry towards ASEAN. I think that's one player. Second is the challenges. It's a highly dense area. You have a lot of shipment, the planes. So of this very challenging problem, if this international collaboration can look at economic, resilient, and also research opportunities in this for fast trial. The last is I think we should think about startup. A lot of startup needs market, needs POC. So I think that international collaboration that we bring startup can also pop opportunities for the two startup to combine strength to go to a bigger market. So I think that is where I think we should lower the barrier of the startup so that they can have more opportunities. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Okay, so Nakao Sensei, please provide the answer.
So I think in every country, so it's always, we already know that telecom business is not going to be sustainable because ARPU is going down in every country. There's no exception. And I think at the end of the day, we should make an alignment on an investment on the technology, and that's what the standardization effort should be doing. And Jaydee and Colin talked about it vertical, but I got an interview from one media, and I answered that what is necessary for 6G, and we shared the experience with. We did a workshop with 6GIA and Next G Alliance already. At that time, monetization is, always the key, because we have to, we have to ask questions, the same question repeatedly, again and again, right? So when we talk about technology, why, we need to do this, get standardized, right? So because people want that. And another thing, interesting thing is that, early days of Beyond 5G Promotion Consortium, we talked about metaverse, right? But now, it's completely changed. People talk about Lifeline. NTN provides us the connectivity for the unconnected. And AI compute, we need to be connected to the AI compute all the time. So we need the resilience to get to the AI compute. So people are looking for an answer why this technology is needed. And I think we should learn from each other, and Japan should be doing that for even more, right? So this is my answer.
Yeah, thank you very much. Very good. Unfortunately, it's a time to close this panel session very short. But thank you very much for your joining this panel session and the great speech. And Jaydee, thank you very much for your participation from the even in the very late night. Thank you, and hope to hopefully see you again in any of the 60 events. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Professor Nakamura and everybody else, thank you very much for the participation.
Thank you very much, everyone.
So now, we would like to have Professor Nakao to close the session. Thank you very much. My name is Nakao. I'm from Tokyo University. I'm also heading the XGMF. Thank you very much for the participation of this session.
Talk in English briefly, because I have to thank everyone from joining this session from abroad, and thank you very much. I know some of my friends visited Japan already 5 times, and thank you very much to come to Tokyo all the way again. And we had a wonderful 2 hours of shower of presentation, and we learned a lot from your efforts. Thank you very much.
To the Japanese audience, thank you very much for participation. During these 2 hours, I'm sure you have been able to update your knowledge about what's happening outside of Japan. Now at XGM, we're so happy to have more than 200 members, and also 20 programs are running, or projects are running. We really focus on the importance of international collaboration. As you have heard during the presentation, how we should standardize, what technology should be standardized, it needs to be the important discussion point in our international collaborations. And we have Tony with us today, and actually we have signed 23rd MOUs with Tony for today. So it's been only 2 years since we were established, but the fact that we have been signing so many MOU really validates our focus on the importance of international collaborations. So we will also have another session in the afternoon focusing on AI. And also, finally, there will be a panel discussion on why we emphasize so much on international collaboration. So I hope you will come back and join in those sessions as well. Professor Nakao, thank you very much. With this, we close this session, session 4. Thank you very much for the speakers, panelists, and also all the people who have supported organizing this event.